right. All right, let's quit talking over top of me so I can get going. Okay. So, today it's going to be called more complex rational expressions. Although I would say calling them complex is probably a stretch because the work that we're going to be doing is essentially the exact same as before, one little tiny added extra step. Okay, so we're going to say if a to the 1 over n power is the nth root of a, we're going to let n be a positive number. What if I don't have 1 on the top? If I don't have 1 on the top of my fraction, I still will have that nth root of a. But then what I have to do is take that number and take it to the m power, whatever that number is. So when you have a fraction as an exponent, your top number is the power, the bottom number is the root. And that's basically the only new thing. Everything's the same. So if I have 16 to the 3/4 power, that's the what root of 16? 4. The 4th root of 16. And then once I find the 4th root of 16, I'm going to take that to what power? 3rd power. Okay. So our goal today will be to, actually our learning targets are going to be the same as last section. I guess technically slightly more complicated, but not a whole lot more. Okay, I'm gonna grab my cheat sheet quick. Okay. So, ready for A. Okay, same learning target as before. So I need to see you rewrite the rational expression as a root. Okay. So if I'm giving you this, I need to see this. But then I also want to see what number is it actually equal to. So here, I have 196 to the 3/2 power. What's my root? The second root. So the second root or square root of 196. And then once I find the square root of 196, I take it to what power? The 3rd power. Okay, if this was a test question, which you very well could have one just like this, so that's 2 points out of 4. Okay, now I have to do is find the square root of 196. So I'm going to go take my table out. I'm going to go down, find 196. And the root is 14. Anybody know why it's positive and negative 14? Even root. Yep, even root is going to result in a positive and negative because 14 times 14 is 196 and negative 14 times negative 14 is 196. Okay, so now I have to find 14 to the 3rd power. Okay, so 14 to the 3rd, 2,744. Yep, 2,744. Is that going to be positive, negative, or positive and negative? I think I heard all 3 options. Is it positive? Is it negative? Or is it positive and negative? Let's find out. Let's think. So here I'm going to take negative 14 times negative 14 times negative 14. When I do that, I got negative 2,744. And then when I take 14 times 14 times 14, I get positive 2,744. So what does that mean? It's both positive and negative. Okay, and that's the learning target. That's what it looks like. Okay, 4B. what is my root and what is my power here? What would the root be? The third root. Okay. When I take the third root, it's going to be a 512. Is the minus sign going to go inside the root or outside of it? Inside, because it's in parentheses. And then once I take the third root of that, I'm going to take it to what power? The second. Okay. So third root of negative 512. So third root, here's 512. The third root of that is 8. So is that positive 8, negative 8, or plus and minus 8? Just negative 8 because odd. Okay, now I have to take 8 squared. Okay, so I go back to my sheet. You're going to use the sheet a lot probably. 8 squared is 64. Is it positive 64? Is it negative 64? Or is it plus and minus? Let's find out. Negative 8 times negative 8. Just 64. If you take a negative number to an even power, it's going to be positive. If you take a negative number to an odd power, it's going to be negative. If you take a positive and a negative to an odd power, it's going to be positive and negative. Take a positive and negative to an even power, it's positive. Just think, positive, if I take it to an even power, I'm going to have a negative times a negative, which will result in a positive. So here's my advice to you all. If you're not sure, you're going to have to bust a calculator out and check. Okay. What is my root for 4C? 4. So it's going to be the fourth root of 16. Once I take the fourth root of 16, what power do I take it to? The third. Who's got the fourth root of 16 for me? Positive 2, negative 2, positive and negative 2. Positive and negative. Because I'm going to an even root. And then when I take 2 to the third power plus and minus 2 to the third power, I know it's going to be 8, because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. I got to check. It's going to be positive 8, negative 8, or both. So you just have to might put in a little bit of work. You're not 100% sure. I got both. So my answer is both. So again, I know you may not like it. You might want it to work faster than what it does. But if you're just not sure if it's plus or minus or just negative or just positive, you just have to use a calculator, take the 10 extra seconds. Okay, 4D. My root is what? 5, fifth root. Fifth root of negative 243. And once I do that, I'm going to take it to the third power. What is the fifth root of negative 243? Negative 3. I'm double checking myself. It is. Negative 3 to the third power. So we know it's going to be 27 because you go 3 to the third. 2, 3. It's a matter of whether it's positive, negative, or plus and minus. Well, if you're not sure, just check. Okay. Remember, plus and minus for the most part. Plus and minus to an odd power is going to be plus or minus. Negative to an even power, positive. Negative to an odd power, negative. Okay. All right. I understand there's a lot of pluses and minuses. That's why, again, I don't know if you picked up the hint that if you're not sure which one it is, I would like you just to use your calculator and just do it by hand to check. Okay. Roots wise, though, we should just know when it's plus or minus by now. Okay. All right. Let's try 13 through 16. So I'm going to do that right now. Let's freeze my screens. So my answers are going up on the board now, so you can start checking yourself. Okay, 13. Bottom number root, top number power. So I'm going to be taking the third root of -1 and then squaring it. The third root of -1 is -1. -1 squared is +1 because -1 times -1. Okay, 32 to the 2/5 power. Top number power, bottom number root, fifth root of 32. Fifth root of 32 is just +2. +2 to the second power is 4. Okay, 9 to the 5/2 power is the square root of 9 to the 5th power. Square root of 9 is positive and -3. Positive and -3 to the 5th power is positive and -243. So -3 times itself 5 times, -243. Then 3 times itself 5 times, positive 243. So it's both. Okay, 16 or is 16 to the 5/4 power. So this is the 5th root or the 4th root of 16 to the 5th power. 4th root of 16 is +2 and -2. Positive and -2 to the 5th power is going to be positive and -32. All right. Questions about learning target 10. We have now completed that one in its entirety. All right. Today's going to be an early day. Should be able to get plenty of stuff done. Okay. Let's go to learning target 11 again, just like last class. Learning target 11 is going to be the inverse of learning target 10. Here I'm going to be given the root or the radical, and I am going to be asked to be given it as a rational expression, meaning a base with a fractional exponent. And then I also want to see what that number is. Okay, so here, what's my root if there's no number there? 2. So if there's a second root there, this is going to be 16 to some exponent. So 16 is going to be my base. What's my exponent going to be? 3/2. Top number power, bottom number root. Okay, so that's 2 out of 4 points. Okay, hey, the remaining 2 though is just telling me what this is equal to, and for the most part, just use, I think this is easier. Square root of 16, positive and negative 2. Positive and negative 2 to the third power, positive and negative 8. Okay, on B, 5B, when I get my base, is my negative 1,728 going to be in parentheses, or is that negative going to be outside or no parentheses? It's going to be inside. Yep, because it's inside the root. So here, I'm going to have negative 1,728, and that's going to be raised to what exponent? 2/3, yep. So negative 1,728, got to find the third root of that. And then the third root of that is 12. So for me, this is going to be negative 12. Odd root of a negative number is a negative number. And negative 12 to the second power. What's that going to be? It's going to be positive 144, negative 144, positive and negative 1. Just positive. All right. What's my base? What would the base of my exponent be here? Well, what was the base of my exponent here? And what's the base of my exponent here? Base was 17,200 or 1,728. This base was 16. What's this base? 4,096. And what exponent? 3/4. So then I have to find a fourth root of 4,096, which is 8. And then 8 to the third power. 5. So now it's a question of plus and minus, just positive, or just negative. Plus and minus. Both. All right, last one here. Okay, this is negative 64 in parentheses because the negative's inside the radical. And it would be the 3/5 power. The fifth root of negative 64. Fifth root of negative 64 would be negative 2. Negative 2 to the third power would be negative 8. All right. Now I felt like I went through that fast, but I'm also kind of getting the feeling that we're figuring it out. Okay. All right. Otherwise, you guys can try 17 through 20. Yeah. 3/5. Yep. Okay. So I screwed something up. All right. Let's figure out what did I screw up. Yeah, there's no 64 here in the fifth one. Okay, so this is how you can do this. Well, I still did this correct, but this is incorrect. All right, either way, I have to find the fifth root of 64. Okay, not going to be impossible because the fifth root of 64 is going to be in between what two perfect fifth powers? 32 and 243. It's going to be in between here. So I'm going to make a little number line. Okay, so 32 is on the left, 243 is on the right. What is the fifth root of 32? 2. What is the fifth root of 243? 3. Okay. On this number line, knowing that 32 is over here, 243 is over there. What half is this on? So if we know that this in the middle is 2.5, what half would 64 be on? The left half or the right half? Left. And probably pretty close, right? Maybe right here. That would be 64 roughly. So what's a good estimate for the fifth root of 64? 2.2, 2.1. Honestly, I would take anything in between 2 and 2.5. So in this situation, I'm going to say negative 2. I don't know. I think 2.2 seems relatively easy in terms of. I'm going to do a 2.3. Okay. And I did do a little calculator work on the side. It's not exactly 2.3, but at this point, we just don't have a nice neat number, just estimations close. Now, if I want to find negative 2.3 to the third power, negative 2.3 times negative 2.3 times negative 2.3. Negative 12.2, roughly. At this point, it's just an estimation. All right, so my bad for screwing that one up, but well, not the first, won't be the last. Okay. All right, 17 through 20. We do have 2 more problems after these that I want to try to get done as well. So let's wrap these ones up. So I'm going to freeze the screen, let you all try those for a moment. So I have up here what you can check. I guess I don't really know why I wrote this step, but I did. Okay. Questions? All right. Hey, so let's just go to the back page. We're going to talk about some word problems since I'm going to assign one to you today. Really, because this chapter split in halves, your word problems for the most part are going to come into the second half. So I think on our upcoming test, it's not going to be a word problem. But this one is really, I would say, not that bad. Okay, I think what I'm going to do though is I'm going to do the monitoring progress, and I'm going to ask that you do the one above, because I actually think the monitoring progress one's a little bit more difficult. Okay, so I have a formula here. The radius of a sphere is given by the equation R is equal to 3V divided by 4 pi to the 1/3 power, where V is the volume of a sphere. We're going to find the radius of a beach ball with a volume of 17,000 cubic feet, and we're going to round that to the nearest foot. And then use 3.14 for pi. So in this situation, I know what V is equal to. It's equal to 17,000. So I have this formula above that only has two variables, R and V. So I can replace V with what number? 17,000. Now, what I'm also going to do, though, is I'm going to multiply or replace pi with 3.14 now while I have the opportunity. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 3 times 17,000. Evaluate the top. 51,000. Then I'm going to evaluate the bottom. $12.56. What math operation is this here? Division. So 51,000 divided by 12.56. Okay, so 4060.5. What does it mean, the 1/3 power? If I take a 1/3 power of a number, that means the what? The 3 what? Third root. So this actually is just saying that my radius of this ball is going to be the cube root of 4060.5. Okay, so I just have to find that number. Unfortunately, 4060.5 is not on here. So what I want to find is the two perfect cubes that 4060.5 is in between. So here's 3375 and here's 4096. So I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to create a little number line. $40.96 and $33.75. Okay, and what are the roots of each of those numbers? So 4096, the root of that is 16, and 3375, the root of that is 15. So this is, over here is 15, over here is 16, and then the middle is 15.5. On the number line, where is this 4060.5? On the right side of the halfway mark, probably pretty close to 16, right? What's estimated as maybe right here. So what would be a good estimation? 15.8, we can try that. Okay, that's what 15.8 would be, 15.8 times 15.8. Does that get me quite here? No, so I'm going to try 15.9. I would say that's probably a little better estimation. So like 15.9. I mean, if you wanted to get really crazy, which I would not ask you to do, but you could just keep. And then look how close it, you could, but I'm totally fine with, 15.9. And then that radius is a straight line distance. So it's 15.9 feet. Okay. So, yeah. So I do think this monitoring progress one was harder than the one above, just because you have to estimate this. But the estimating, though, I feel like that's a useful strategy to have. Okay. Otherwise, try 6A, the original problem. And then that is a that's it for the first half of chapter 6. So we'll review and test over this stuff over the next 2 classes. So I'll freeze this and you can try 6A. Sure. Sure. Okay. I put 27 here because I got 26.99. So I'm like, that's close enough to 27. 27 is perfect cube. So, yeah. Again, it's not going to blow my mind if you saw something like this on your Iowa assessment. So I just felt like I should cover it, although we're not going to have a test question over this. Okay. Otherwise, that is going to be it for the lesson. Your practice problems were actually on the previous page. Number 19 and 20, 23 through 28, and then also number 45.